Hello, everyone. We're back. We're back for Audacity. Lucky number 13. Episode lucky number 13.
Right. I tried to say our last one was 13. It was not. This is number 13. And it is good luck. It's a good luck number for us, Nate. So
It is. How are things going for you?
Reporting from the War Acres Dispatch. They're going okay. I'm still socially distant. I think for everyone listening, the chamber is transitioning back to being in the office, but we're doing it slowly. And Nate and I are bringing up the rear pretty much for our department. We're going back in. I think we have another 2 weeks at home, Nate.
I believe that's correct. Yes.
Yeah. So that will be almost 3 months to the day since we left the office and came home to work remotely. So it's definitely lost some of its newness, but I've settled into a nice routine. It's starting to feel normal, and I don't know whether that's a good thing or a bad thing at this point. So I'm looking forward to being back in the office, but trying to enjoy my time here as much as I can. How about you?
Yeah, same. I actually went to the office the other day to pick something up, and it was just sort of like, it was off-putting kind of to be back in that world that you are so used to being in. And then, you haven't been there for so long. And then it's like, oh man, this is...
Yeah.
So
yeah,
kind of
I think I'm not sure how other companies are handling it, but from what I've heard from people that are already working, they have everything taped off. You have to wear your mask when you're not in your office. It's going to be a different experience going back. I'm not necessarily looking forward to that, but I think it will be nice to see people from 6 feet away at least. So I am looking forward to seeing everyone on our team, even if I have to wear a mask to do it. So
absolutely. Well, that's kind of a couple of the things that I wanted to talk a little bit about during this is, now that I think it seems like things have settled down a little bit here, at least locally. And so, the numbers are kind of, trending where they need to go. And I'm cautiously optimistic at this point, feeling a lot better about things, just personally than I have in many, many weeks. It's sort of a time to, I don't know, maybe get a little bit introspective about this whole situation.
Reflect on our time. Yeah.
That's right. Reflect on super lockdown status now that we're sort of in, going toward a different phase, phase 2, as it were, here. And so I was just, what I wanted to ask you, what are some things that you have been thinking about? Like what's kind of the top thing that you've been surprised about? Just sort of overall during the time of the quarantine, the great quarantine of 2020.
The great quarantine. For me, I didn't necessarily spend a lot of time at my house before all of this. I'm pretty busy. I go to work, I do things after work, I have hobbies, and I feel like I have filled my time with being away from my home, which was not really an option, or not an option I wanted to take during all of this. So I've been surprised with how much I like my house. I like being at home. I have a cozy little office with great posters. I've got a nice backyard. So for me, a really pleasant surprise has been how much I've enjoyed being at my house and kind of making that a space that I want to be in, a place to relax. That's been a great experience for me, and I'm really grateful for it, actually.
No, that's good.
What about you?
Well, I kind of have the opposite reaction, because normally during the week I'm pretty busy and I'm never at home, and I'm always thinking, man, I wish I could be at home. And then now that I'm home, it's sort of like, it's, I'm all the time, I'm driving myself a little bit crazy, I think, here. So I've been enjoying being able to get out and go run and do a lot of those types of things, but things like missing the gym. And,
you're such a gym guy.
You can work out at home, but it's not quite the same. And my gym is actually reopened, which is interesting. And they've done some things and put some different procedures in place and everything. And it sounds honestly, it sounds like it would be pretty safe. And I would totally go back. But the problem is their hours, they actually close at 6, which is about, there's no way I can normally get there before then. So
are you kidding? That is way too early. Nobody can get there before then.
I know. Well, and I'm an evening workout guy. Like I will not.
You're not going to get up at 5.
Can't do it in the morning. Yeah, that's
no
just
way.
Happening. So that's cool. I'm going to continue with my backpack full of vinyl albums and throwing water jugs around and those kinds of things. So. But
I'm not ready to go back to the gym yet. So I've been making it work at home as well. That's been another thing is, there's a lot of apps that can replicate classes, and I've been getting out more for walks. So I'm making it work for now.
Yeah. Well, the other thing too that I've been doing is I drug out my old MacBook that I've had probably for a good 15 years now, if not longer. And it was sort of my iTunes computer, right? When you used to have to download music and like
back in the day,
MP3s from your CDs and all this kind of thing. And so I pulled that out and plugged that into my system here. And I saw that I had something like 12 days and 18 hours and some odd minutes of music. And I thought, well, I'm just going to play through all of it and just, and I've gotten about half day through, and it's just,
wow.
When you're playing them all in order, it's like, I sure do have a whole lot of Andrew Bird in here. I sure do have a whole lot of Ben Folds and Bare Naked Ladies. And
I heard you found some Black Eyed Peas in your collection.
Found some Black Eyed Peas I didn't know I had in there. Yeah. That's a little
a fun musical discovery.
Yeah. But I also started getting into, I talked about my backpack full of vinyl albums. Well, I started to play a whole bunch of those albums too in my record player and on my phonograph. Awesome. So that's been kind of fun to kind of have a chance to go through those, during the work day and that kind of thing. So it's not all bad here, but
it's not all bad. Yeah, it's not all bad. Has there been anything that you've just hated about this experience?
It's funny how one or two small little things out of your week that you can't do really seem to just kill your vibe. So, just things like, I don't know, going to Elk Valley and hanging out on the rooftop. I would only do that probably once every 3 weeks, maybe, going out to dinner, maybe once, not even once a week, but once every couple weeks. Just not being able to do those little things is really, it's interesting how much that kind of kills your vibe is kind of the wrong way to put it, but it just, I
think we rely on those little touch points for, some of our delight in life. And when you don't have them anymore, it's hard to adjust to that. I definitely agree.
Right. So
I'm ashamed to admit this, but I'm like a big, I guess I'm a stress shopper. I didn't realize this until the pandemic because I have a bad day at work or just like stressful things going on in life. I like to walk through Target and I have a routine. I start in the women's clothes area. I go around to the books, to the electronics, then I end up through the food. And then I hit like the makeup on the way out. It's great. I don't always buy everything, but I have this routine. It's soothing to me. And I know other people in our office do it too. Cause one time I saw Corey in the wine section. And I was like, she does the same thing. I love it. I love this so much. Well, you can't really do that. You shouldn't do that in the middle of a pandemic. You're supposed to limit your trips out to the grocery store. So I really miss that. That's one thing about this that I hated, but it's a good chance for me to grow as a person, maybe not rely on Target to meet my emotional needs. Just a suggestion for growth for me.
I think that's a positive. Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm trying to flip it that way at least. And then the other thing really that has been the worst about this, I'm such a people person. I love seeing my people. I've limited to basically 3 people that I've seen throughout the pandemic, and I am ready to see my coworkers. I'm ready to see my friends. I want to get back out there in a safe way as soon as everyone else feels comfortable. And I do have friends with varying levels of comfort of hanging out. So kind of navigating through that too has been a challenge.
Well, it's nice too, because it's actually a good time of year. The weather's been nice for the most part when it comes to doing things like hanging out outside with, which gives you the ability to do that without maybe feeling quite so freaked out about stuff. So
totally. It's definitely a time to learn to love Oklahoma City parks, walking around the trails. I go to Will Rogers Park a lot. It's a great time of year to view that and go on walks with friends. That's been a good thing.
Yeah, I've definitely noticed a lot more trail usage myself, just down at the river trails and things like that. So that's cool. Oh, and that also, that's a nice little segue to something else we wanted to make sure everybody knew, but that River Sport is kind of back open. So they had done sort of a phased reopening. And so, they started out early on with just things like stand-up paddleboard rentals and kayak rentals and things like that, really far away from everybody. And they've kind of gotten now to the point where they've actually reopened even the whitewater center portion. And so they're doing some things differently than they've done in the past, just to make sure that people are being safe. And essentially the way that it used to work was you could sign up for a raft time or just kind of show up depending on the day. And then they would put you in a raft with maybe another group to kind of fill it out. And right now, basically they're going to not do that anymore. And you can only be in the raft with your particular group that you came with, just to sort of minimize
interesting.
the exposure. Yeah. Possible, cross exposure to other folks. So that's, I actually think that's good. And you have to have a reservation and do all those things, but sounds like they're doing everything that they can, and in order to keep everyone safe and healthy. And if you guys have not had a chance to go do some of those things, even if whitewater is not kind of your speed, there are a lot of other great activities down there that you could do. Ride this, slide down.
Yeah,
the slide,
not necessarily for Nate and I. Whitewater, scary. We've had a whitewater experience that I think we talked about here on the podcast. You can revisit episode 1, I think, to hear our whitewater story.
Pretty early on, yeah.
But there's a lot to explore out there. And they're one of many Oklahoma City attractions that are kind of coming back online. I saw that the National Cowboy and Western Heritage Museum and the famous, what is his name? Cowboy Tim, Cowboy Tim.
Right.
Security guard. They are back in business. They have a cool new children's area that one of our coworkers actually went to see over the weekend. It looks amazing. I'm like, I don't have a child, but I would like to go see that area for sure.
Yeah.
I think they've done some renovations at Prosperity Junction, and that's back open. I know the zoo, you can go visit the zoo now. So there are a lot of things like that. It's kind of that time of year where you want to get out and explore. Maybe your kids they're obviously done with school for the year. And I think there's some good ways to explore Oklahoma City, and things like that are coming back online, which is encouraging.
Yeah. Yippee-ki-yay, mothers and fathers. Take your kids to the National Cowboy and Western Heritage Museum and let them play.
You could have taken that a different direction. I'm glad you didn't.
I actually wrote about that for the Better Life blog that came out this week. So we'll have a link to that in the show notes so you can check out some information about some of the things that they're doing that's, family friendly. And they've extended some of the exhibits that they had planned so that so some things like the Warhol in the West exhibit that's really cool, Dorothea Lane exhibit. So they're extending some of those out since they were closed. That's
great, because I really wanted to see the Warhol in the West exhibit and I didn't have a chance. So I'm going to have to make a trek.
Yeah, that's very cool. What is your, so we talked around some of the things that we didn't like, some things that we did like. What's kind of your favorite silver lining through all this, would you say?
Silver lining. I think we've seen that we're all capable of working remotely. I think there's going to be like a little bit of a culture shift around that more globally. Which I think is a silver lining. I mean, as someone who loves the environment, I'm so glad that, dolphins are back swimming in clear waters, blah, 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 all those stories that you hear. I think that's kind of nice. There's definitely silver linings on like a broader scale, even though this has been a very tough time for a lot of people in a lot of different ways. But on a personal level, I don't know, just being happy in my house has been a big one, kind of being like, oh, here's my hammock. I'm going to lay outside and read in the afternoons instead of go somewhere. So I think that's been a silver lining for me.
Very cool. Very cool. I wanted to put a moratorium on some terms that we have been hearing in the media and on social and just, kind of in general. I think like we don't need to hear the term respiratory droplets anymore. It's just kind of gross. Yeah.
It's disgusting.
That's, if we can stop saying that. Shedding virus, that's another thing. I think we can stop with that. That's also kind of gross.
Unprecedented times. I'm guilty. I've used that in writing because there's really no other way to describe it, but it's become a cliche now.
It is a little bit of a cliche. And I'm definitely, at some point, the unprecedented times have now become precedented. Mm-hmm. I'm ready for like the old precedented times to come back. So we'll say that.
Exactly. I really love precedented. So
precedented, let's
go back to those times.
Yes. So that's better. So yeah, we can do that. I think we can stop with that one too. So
I'm personally tired of so I've been doing different writing stuff for our website, writing some scripts for events that we're having online. And if I have to like type out the words COVID-19 or coronavirus one more time, I think I'm just going to fall out of my chair. And I do enjoy that my phone now recognizes that I'm trying to say the word quarantine more quickly, so I don't have to type it out every time. It just like auto-fills it for me. So that's kind of nice.
There you go.
But yeah, I'm definitely, it has changed the lexicon of our generation. And it'll be interesting to see how much of that sticks around. I'm ready for them to choose the time word of the year because it's got to be coronavirus or COVID-19 or something to that effect.
Oh man, it's kind of interesting how society can sort of shift around, and activity can shift so quickly. And it's been interesting to me to see just how industry has been able to respond to some things like initial supply chain problems and fulfillment and that sort of thing, early on, when you couldn't get toilet paper for some reason, like toilet paper was going to keep you from getting the coronavirus.
Yeah, what was that about? I'm still baffled by the toilet paper shortage.
Right. And so, but it's, those problems eventually sort of dispersed and went away. And it's been interesting to see how industry has jumped into all sorts of, trying to find different forms of therapies. And, a lot of different companies and institutions are working on vaccines, and to see how people have come together in order to support each other and help just sort of in general. And that kind of leads us to a couple of things that we wanted to talk about. The Chamber is actually we're launching a kind of a Shop Small in June campaign that we want everybody to know about. And so we know that a lot of our local retailers have been particularly hard hit by the pandemic. And in a lot of ways, it's kind of those local shops, restaurants too, breweries, all that kind of stuff, but also local shops. It's been really, really difficult. And those are the kind of places that really give Oklahoma City its particular unique flavor. They're the kind of things that make us different from other cities and interesting, and not only fun to visit, but also a lot more fun to just live here and be able to enjoy those kind of things. And so we're going to kind of take the month of June to do kind of a Shop Small campaign in recognition of the fact that, if we want to kind of retain some of these smaller places that give Oklahoma City its flavor, places like Shop Good and like Plenty Mercantile and Black Scintilla.
Yeah.
A lot of the places that, we always talk about, and about how these are the kinds of things that make Oklahoma City cool and unique and different. And we kind of need to start purposefully shopping the type of places that we want to see stay, I don't know. I mean, we
need to invest in the type of things that we want to see in our community. And I definitely think our small businesses are part of that equation, our small retailers, restaurants, breweries, et cetera. And you're right that I think a lot of those places run on such small margins anyway.
Right.
That this disruption in business has been incredibly challenging. But to your point earlier, it has been very inspiring to see how those places have pivoted and started, the online, maybe they didn't have an online shop before and now they do. I think they're definitely doing their very best to meet customer needs in the way that we have to interact as a society right now. And I'm right there with you. There are so many places that I love and want to see stay in Oklahoma City for the long haul. And I think this is an integral part of our society and our culture and what makes Oklahoma City so unique. And I'm hoping that everyone will really pick up on that and run with it. I think June's a perfect month to shop small. So I'll definitely be participating.
Right.
I'm going to change my stress shopping to local retailers instead. I'm just going to go walk around Commonplace Books. I've done that a few times. Full circle. That was the first place I went back into when they reopened. I went on a shopping tour of Full Circle Bookstore. So
cool.
Lots of places like that you can explore.
Yeah, for sure. So, and we'll have more about that. Just follow our social channels is probably the best way to do that. But we'll have more about that as the month goes on. But I did want to put a shout out. We're still kind of figuring out the final form of things, but we'll have a lot of stuff on social media and stuff that's shareable. So if you guys could please help us get the word out about that, that would be great. But yeah, and also just, kind of in your own, daily lives, think about ways to be proactive and support some of these folks that you want to see hang around and remain part of the fabric of Oklahoma City and our community. I think that's really important. So the other thing that we've been doing recently is a kind of a series of little webisodes that we call the OKCBizBoost series, because basically what had happened is we had heard a lot of really cool stories about businesses doing different things in response to the pandemic and supporting each other and those sort of things. And so we had some folks in the office that have done a series of interviews with some of the businesses and philanthropies and different organizations to try to get the word out about some of the cool things that are happening in Oklahoma City in response to the pandemic. Those have been kind of fun to check out and see come through. And so hopefully you've been able to see some of those, but if not, we have those on our YouTube on our YouTube channel, the OKC Chamber YouTube channel. So youtube.com/OKC Chamber. We've got a playlist all set up with those. But it's cool. We've had representatives from Allied Plastics on, and they had a really cool story about how they had put together some different, face shielding sort of materials and some different things for grocery stores to be able to put up to separate the cashier from the customer and those sorts of things. We've had Mark Jones on from Homeland talking about their program where they were putting takeout food from local restaurants in their deli case, which is really cool. So we mentioned that before, but we had him on talking about that, and as well as a couple restaurateurs that were there at the time. So we got to hear from a few different folks during that one. So that was cool. We got to talk to our folks, Justin and Audrey from Shop Good, about some of the cool things that they've been doing around their solidarity campaign, win-win-win. And they're doing a lot of really cool things to try to help support local businesses. We talked to the City Box people, which we mentioned before on the podcast, where you can basically buy one box that has products from a lot of different local shops and restaurants, and it's a good way to support a whole bunch of folks at the same time. So it's been a really cool, successful concept for them. Honestly, they keep selling out of the boxes. So just stuff like that. We've had Tom.
DD Audio was one, right?
DD Audio, yeah. We some of the things that they're doing to manufacture PPE. Same thing with the OU Innovation Hub. How they were manufacturing things, but also testing and validating designs, and then publishing the designs if you want to make them yourself and start making stuff that they know is tested and works. And some really cool stuff out there. That's just,
and it just goes back, Nate, to what we were saying before, like when people have to pivot in the face of hard times, it can be really inspiring and really successful. And I do think that this difficult situation, which there is no doubt about it, it has sucked for a lot of people in a lot of different ways, obviously, but it also allows people to be innovative. And we're seeing that right here in Oklahoma City, just like you would anywhere else. So it's exciting to see our companies pivot and do their best work and really make a difference in the way that our community is handling this challenging time.
Yes. And for better or for worse, we are sort of built as a city. It's kind of embedded in our DNA to be able to come together and overcome challenges. I think we've seen that time and time again, taking advantage of opportunities that are in front of us, and the whole pull yourself up by your bootstrap mentality, and those are the kinds of things that pay dividends in situations like this. And so it's really cool to see some of those things come to fruition and manifest themselves in some of these ways that we've talked about. So another interesting piece of good news, and we wanted to make sure that you guys saw, that you guys have probably seen, but according to official census figures, Oklahoma City is now the 25th largest city, like the actual city of Oklahoma City. Not the MSA, but the actual city of Oklahoma City. We're actually in 25th place. And so kind of wanted to use this as a sort of an exhortation to, if you have not filled out your census form, to be sure and do that, and make sure that, if you are aware of anybody that may or may not be aware of the census and, the process and how that works, you can do it online. It's very easy. They say it takes less than 10 minutes. For me, it took about 3 minutes. So
that's right. When you're the only person living in your house, it is fast.
It's very fast. Boom, yeah. It's like,
you're done.
Right. So be sure to fill that out, because that really helps when it comes to things like getting federal funding for different, all sorts of different programs. And so we're only something like 400 or so people behind Portland so it's possible that we could actually overtake Portland for number 24. So let's fill out those things. We're also in a little bit of a challenge we're also in a little bit of a challenge with Tulsa. So by the time that this episode hits, I think that challenge will be over. So Oklahoma City has actually been leading the way the entire run, as I recall, if I'm understanding correctly. And so if we end up coming out with a higher response rate than Tulsa, then Tulsa is going to have to fly the Oklahoma City official city flag at their city hall for,
what a burn.
I know, burn. Yeah.
Yeah. So, ooh, you have to fly our flag.
Yeah.
But hey, That's fine, I guess.
I'm sure. Yeah. But anyway, a little fun thing. So if you have not filled out your census, be sure to do that.
Honestly, I feel like I got to go back to this Tulsa thing. I feel like because Mayors Holt and what's his last name? Bynum. They're such good friends that they should have come up with something a little more like personal. You know, they're besties, so they could have done something more embarrassing for the other one that would have really motivated more people, maybe than just the flag flying. But hey, that's just me. So I think they could have embellished this bet a little bit more. Yeah, they should have gone to that level, like make it more like rival high school kind of vibe,
right?
Instead of flag flying. But maybe next census in 10 years, we'll see.
But the other thing, if you fill out the census online, then I don't know about you, but if somebody shows up to your house these days, it's kind of unannounced, it's like, what is going on? It's a little bit scary.
Unless you're the UPS delivery man or my DoorDash or shipped order, I don't want you on my porch. Get away. So fill it out online.
Fill it online, and then the census takers, right? Then they don't have to come to your door to take down your information. So they will appreciate that. You will appreciate not having to deal with a stranger. And that's we were on a conference call the other day with one of our coworkers, and people kept coming to the door just like strangers, and it was like it just reminded me of my childhood, because that used to happen. People would come to the door and the doorbell would ring, and you would just it's just one of those things that just does not happen in the 21st century as much.
It sure does not. And sometimes if people ring my doorbell, I like hide. I don't want them to talk to me. I turn off the TV and I'm really quiet. I'm like, no one's home.
Exactly. It's gone the way of answering the phone when you don't know who's calling. When people used to call your house phone, you did not know who it was ever. So it could have been great news. It could have been bad news. You just had to answer that thing and take your chances, So.
Instead, I'm like, oh, not in my contacts. You're going to voicemail. If it's important enough, I'll call you back.
Right. Here's a number that's surprisingly close to mine, yet not on my contact list. This is probably good news. Yeah. An investment opportunity, perhaps.
Yeah.
Take advantage of that. That's, yeah.
Oh, man.
Okay. Well, anything else that you wanted to go over, Kaylee, or is this?
I don't think so. I'm looking forward to seeing you back in the office in a couple of weeks for sure.
Yeah, that's the thing, so this may be our last sort of podcast recorded this way, although I don't know.
I don't think
though.
we can do it if we're still having to be six feet apart in the office.
Right.
We could just have, 2 cameras rolling in each of our separate offices and make Josh and Tracy wear a mask. That might be kind of fun. Just like haze them a little bit. I don't know. We may still have to do this reporting from, our separate offices, one office away from each other in the chamber. Just close the door and hope for the best. So we'll see.
Or go back down in the basement and just stand and awkwardly, at an awkward distance away from each other. And
you could be like really close to the camera and I could be really far away. Maybe that would work. And then we could trade back and forth. It'd be like a 1980s video, like a music video. That might be kind of fun.
Yeah. Well, have you seen how some of the news stations are doing some of their, it's basically all stand up. It's kind of the same along the same lines, so that you can, I don't know if you've, anyway.
Are you asking if I watch the news? The answer is not really. The answer is no.
I haven't either. The other thing that's weird about this, I don't know if I've mentioned this before or if this is worth keeping in, but so when I'm here working by myself, I'm used to having a lot more noise. And so when I'm not playing music, on my turntable or my old MacBook there with all my iTunes library, my 12 days of music in my iTunes library. I've been actually turning on the radio, and so sports talk radio. What
are they talking about right now? Sports are happening.
There is not a lot happening in the sports world, and so they're sort of delving into just whatever, and it's just a lot of. It's actually been kind of fun because you can hear a little bit. It's instead of sort of endless bad takes, just to sort of have a take that will generate controversy in phone calls, which I think happens sometimes. it's just been a lot of more, free and easy joking around and, letting the conversation kind of go where it wants. So yeah, it's actually been a little bit, it's been a little bit refreshing. I do get sick of some of the ads that run on Sports Talk Radio. There are a couple of prominent advertisers that are involved in various things having to do with male performance, and the endless sort of euphemisms that they come up with for different things in that milieu it just drives me crazy.
Not working for you.
It's not. Yeah, it's just. It makes me like listening.
You're like, well, I will never purchase your product. So
yeah.
Made that decision for me.
And then it's like, so it's those folks, a lot of class action suits for different things, I think I used Roundup one time,
Gotta go get it on that cash. So I listen to Spotify, so I don't have ads. I pay for a Spotify account, but I have Hulu and they do have ads. So last night I was watching TV and it was just like a medical, some medicine. I don't even know what it was that it was advertising for. And at the end, for like 30 seconds, it just scrolled text of all the warnings and contraindications and the legalese that they have, with no sound. It was just the text scrolled for 30 seconds. I was like, wow, guys, you're really phoning it in. You're supposed to have a guy read that really quickly and like in a quieter voice. But instead, you're just going to scroll the text. It made me look up. I was like, oh, what's happening with my show? Why isn't it playing? Oh, it's just scrolling text. Great.
Maybe that's how they get you.
Maybe so. Didn't work because I don't know what the medicine was. I couldn't tell you the brand. So, Nate, something we haven't mentioned, and this makes me a bad marketer because I support our events team, is that we have been having some online events. We've switched everything to digital through the end of September, just because it is very hard to plan if you can have a 500-person event when you're not sure if that many people can be in a room together.
Right.
So we're switching to a every other week Enlighten webinar series. So that's on Fridays. Our next one is on the 29th of May, which is tomorrow as we're recording this. But then 2 weeks following that on June 12th, we will have an additional Enlighten webinar. So those are kind of fun. Just little quick tips on how to be a better leader, how to do things in your business a better way. A lot of it has focused on the coronavirus impacts. So we're continuing that. And then we're going to have we're resuming our chamber forum programming. That's going to be on Wednesday, June 17th. So we canceled our program in March because that was going to be an in-person event. That was right when everything was really heating up. So we did not have that. We're going to do that program virtually. So it's all about economic development projects in Oklahoma City and what we can do to kind of build a better business climate. I think we can all agree that's more important now than ever. So that's going to be our first paid digital event. It's $15 for chamber members. And you can register for those online at okcchamber.com/events. We're also moving a lot of our signature events to a digital format. So State of Health, that's going to be in July. We've got State of Schools in August. Those are both going to be digitally held. So those are some exciting changes we've been talking about a lot at work in my personal job. So I hope everybody will stay tuned to okcchamber.com/events and to any chamber emails you might receive that'll have more details about how you can be involved with that. We're excited.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up because I know those Enlighten webinars have been really popular and
they have.
You guys have done a great job with the programming. It's been all really actionable, things for people. Enlighten. You guys have just done a really good job of doing, getting things on that are practical and useful and that, people really need at this particular time. And like you said, those are free, which you can't beat. You can't beat free.
You cannot beat it. There's a lot of free webinars out there right now, but we have received really good feedback. Just that the content has been helpful. It's been a mix of like practical things like how to navigate contractual obligations in the light of, an act of God, so to speak, with the pandemic. And last week we had a great webinar with Strata Leadership about how to be a better leader during times like this. So it runs the gamut to super, super practical to a little bit more theory about how you can become a better leader, how you can build a better business, that sort of thing. So I'm looking at, this isn't set in stone, but the first one that we have on June 12th, the first one in June, is going to be centered around mental health. May is Mental Health Month. I know that a pandemic that has brought on a lot of stressful times for a lot of people. It's kind of top of mind on how to react to that, especially if you're a business leader, an owner, a manager that has a team that might be experiencing new mental health issues just because of the situation that we're in, which is totally normal. So we'll have somebody talk a little bit more about that, about managing mental health, especially when you're in a stressful situation, when you're working remotely, et cetera. So that one I'm excited about.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. And yeah, like you said, the Chamber Forum around economic development, it's always important, but you can see how important things like recruiting new jobs to the market is at a time like this. And so, yeah, really cool. We had a good announcement a couple of weeks ago about Costco, moving a bunch of back office jobs here. And
then we also saw Heartland announce that they're adding additional people to their downtown workforce.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I think we have all seen a lot of bad news around oil and gas, maybe some things that are a little bit unsettling, but there are good things happening too. So I think we're going to go into both sides of that at this forum. We're going to have companies that run the gamut from how long they have been in the Oklahoma City marketplace. So MD Building Products, they've been around since 1920. We've got someone from Rural Sourcing there, a more recent announcement that just moved into our market. So I think it's going to be interesting to see the perspectives from those people and just see what their take is on how we're doing as an actual business climate from the perspective of people who are day in, day out running businesses here. Yeah. So that's kind of exciting. I also want to give a plug too. A lot of you guys will remember us talking about Elevate last year. That's the Chamber's Professional Development Conference that we launched in 2019. So this year that is scheduled for September 10th, but that falls kind of in our timeline for moving things digitally. So we're going to do a completely digital program. We're kind of finalizing what that's going to look like, but I'm very excited about that experience. I think we're going to be able to offer some things that people wouldn't get to experience anywhere else. So please stay tuned for that. Save the date on September 10th. It's going to be about a half from the noon to 5 region. So something in the afternoon of your work time. So make sure you save spot in your calendar for that. We're going to have some good professional development sessions. We'll have keynote speakers. We're going to have some interesting ways to network. So I think it will be a fun event, and I'm excited to see how we can transition what worked really well in person to something that will be an exciting digital event.
Yes, that's definitely a new challenge to embrace. Another new challenge to embrace.
It's so fun. I love learning new things all the time. Just constant new things.
Right. But Elevate last year, our first ever in-person event, I think nobody was really sure how everything was going to go. But honestly, I can say by all accounts, it went really, really well. We had a really strong programming. I thought the attendees, pretty uniform in terms of everybody seems like they got a lot out of it. So I have no doubt that we're going to deliver the same type of experience, even though it's going to be online.
Well, I think I've run out of things I need to promote, honestly.
My Asana just rested itself, so I don't even know if if we had anything else on the list. But I think we got through everything. So guys, we would just wanted to say thanks for joining us, and please don't forget about, if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe, hit the little bell if you're a YouTuber so you get the notification as new episodes come out. And we would also ask you to please share this with your friends if you found any of this at all, useful.
That's right. And leave us a review. That helps people find us for sure. We also love hearing from you guys. Probably the easiest way to do that is by email. So you can email networking@okcchamber.com to make sure that you communicate with us, but we're also on social media, so it's at OKC Chamber, almost every platform out there. So just look us up, let us know what you're thinking. We always love hearing from people.
Absolutely. So we appreciate it, guys. You guys stay safe out there, and
keep washing your hands. Please wear a mask.
Hopefully I'll be open in some form or another. Yes.
It will. Just hang in there. Yeah. And I think it'll be exciting to be back in the office, even if we have to keep doing this distance. It'll be good to be back around all my friends at work. So excited for that day. And until then, hope everybody stays safe. Wash your hands, wear your mask, keep listening to Audacity, share it with your friends. There you go.
I like it. Okay. Thanks, guys. We will see you next time.
Bye. I want that Taylor Swift portion to be like the outtake. You need to put it at the end for everyone that makes it all the way through. Well, Greg.
So glad you made time to see me. How's that? Tell me how you have me. I haven't seen them in a while.
Yes.
Good, busier than ever. Small talk, work and the weather. Your guard is up, and I know